don't let outside circumstances dictate where you're headed to in life.
I've talked to some sales agents. In my mind, I'm like, whoa, they're gonna have a rough go at this. You know, they got a lot to learn.
You know you're paying more because you're keying in the transaction.
No way.
Yeah. Like, you don't have a credit card machine? She's like, no, I'm with Chase and they never gave me one.
Wow. If you get a team of people that are like, have the vision aligned, you're unstoppable.
Why did you pick a business when everybody already has those machines?
Hey, Paul, what's your latest venture? And I'm like, credit card terminals. And they're like, but that's saturated. Why are you getting into that? Hey guys, this is the Level Up with Paul Alex. I'm here with two special guests, guys. Now, these special guests, they were actually been my mentors since December of 2022, ever since we met them. And guys, they have changed my life. Why? Because your network is your net worth, guys. So at the end of the day, it's who you know and what they could teach you. Now I want to introduce you guys to Rob and John. Rob and John, how are you guys doing today?
Doing awesome.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you guys are here, dude.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad you guys are here, man. As you guys know, these guys are 9-figure entrepreneurs in the merchant services industry. If you don't know what merchant services is, guys, trust me, I didn't know what merchant services was in great detail until like a year and a half ago, but it has to do with credit card machines. And you're probably thinking right now, if you're an entrepreneur, you're looking for somebody that's looking for a side hustle, or you're looking to just make a little bit of extra income, because with inflation, guys, it's ridiculous, right? So they're gonna tell you exactly their story. They're going to tell you exactly how you guys can make residual income or even passive income, right? Because it is possible passive income.
Very passive.
Yeah. And you guys, this could change your life. So tune in, forward this to your family, your friends, anybody that you care about, because it's going to change their life. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started. So Level Up Podcast, we primarily like to focus on mindset, self-help, because I think that's like the biggest needle mover when it comes to entrepreneurship. Because we know, we had this talk on dinner last night, guys, and entrepreneurship's not made for everybody, dude. You know, right now on social media, I feel like a lot of people are painting this picture that entrepreneurship is this easy 9 to 5 where you could then get a Lambo and a freaking mansion or a penthouse, and anybody and their mom can do it, right? Which I learned from experience myself being in corporate America and law enforcement that it is not the case. So I love to bring special guests like you guys, because you guys tell it how it is, and you guys have been through the trenches, and you guys are continuing to work, right? Even though you guys have this high level of success. So let's start with you, John. John, let's say what you were doing right before you got into merchant services. What was appealing about merchant services? And then where was the mindset shift?
Yes, very good question, Paul. So at the time, you know, I was working for an investment firm, and I was making pretty good money. I was 28 years old, making, you know, anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 a month. But I was spending a lot of hours at the office, just kind of locked up in there, you know, just on the phone all the time with clients. Then the market crashed, and then you're like, oh, shoot, what am I going to do now? Okay, so I got to find something else. And, you know, while you're down, you got to figure out what you didn't like about what you previously were doing. One thing I didn't like is I didn't have all the freedom. Even though I was making great money, I didn't have the freedom. So when somebody approached me about merchant services, they're like, you go out and talk to business owners. I'm like, I love talking to business owners. I'm an entrepreneur, so I would love to hear their story. This is amazing. You mean I can literally be out in the field, just talking to people, just talking to business owners, listening to their stories. So to me, it was like it was a positive experience. But I was starting from the bottom. I mean, I was starting from the bottom again, after being at the top, crashing. Then like, okay, let's start from the bottom. But the most important thing, guys, and now I've been in the business for 19 years, and people always ask me like, how did you know that you were going to do merchant services for 19 years? I'm like, well, you know, once I figured out that I could make my own paycheck by signing up merchants and receiving a residual every month, and that I controlled how much effort I put into it and how much I could grow that, I said, I've finally found the perfect vehicle that I've had so many jobs, so many opportunities, so many other things that I tried. And I for one reason or another, I didn't stick with it, but I learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
But once I found this, I was like, this is so easy. There's nothing else I have to do but just keep signing up accounts every month, and my portfolio and my residual keeps growing.
Dude, I love that, right? But there's going to be a lot of people watching this that are skeptical. Let's keep it real, right? And if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? So for someone like you who was already a high performer coming from a different industry going into the merchant services, you probably saw it as a gold mine, dude. Just like how I did. I came from an ATM industry, dude, very similar to credit card machines and merchant services. And ultimately, all it was just a different vehicle, right? Instead of pitching 200-pound machine, now I'm pitching a 2-pound machine, right? And people love it because they're not dealing with cash. So to take it from that perspective, man, what would you tell somebody that doesn't have like the skill sets that you do, like as far as like, let's say they're introverted, dude, right? They don't have any sales background. Right now, they're probably like, dude, this sounds like a great opportunity. Residuals, passive income. I think that's everybody's dream, every American's dream. And now Canadians, because we service Canada. But shout out to my Canadians. Love you guys. But with that being said, dude, like, yeah, like, what would you tell that person? That person that feels like they just are not good enough for this.
Yes. So the good thing is that the program that we put together with Merchant Automation and PaybotX is that we are a community. And, when I started, it was kind of like, back in the day, they teach you how to swim. They're like, just throw them in the pool and, go ahead, let them swim to the shore, Yeah. That's how the old school teaching was. But now we really take each person, we do sales training, we do mindset training.
Yeah.
So everybody comes in at a different level. Some people already have sales experience. Some people don't have any sales experience. But we've been successful in, turning people that are introverts into learning how to become an extrovert.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're transforming their life genuinely,
Absolutely,
dude.
because it's a journey. It's like we all have to learn the certain skills, and one of them is mindset.
Yeah.
We got to get your mindset right.
Yep.
Even me, I've been in the business for a very long time, and this morning I went for a 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
And during that time, I'm working on my mindset. It's the one muscle that most people don't focus on.
Yeah.
But that's the most important muscle, is your mindset.
Yeah.
So if you could do 30 minutes a day, working on your mindset, an hour, some people need an hour a day, some people need more, but we all need a certain level to get that part of the day before everything comes at you.
Yeah.
All the bad news and, all the stuff you have to deal with. But you're going to be more prepared to deal with it once your mindset is right.
I love that. And that goes behind everything, man. I mean, mindset goes behind you getting up in the morning, you being proactive, getting on your job, and then making sure that, you get things done right? And I'm a big believer in, like, everything that you can control, you can actually have influence over. One thing that's going on right now with the politics, right? People are like, oh, Trump, oh, Harris, oh, this and that. Like, I'm going to fail if this president gets elected. I call bullshit, dude. Because, like, man, like, I've gone through the ringer my entire life, dude. I'm 36. I know you guys are older, and you guys look great for your age, by the way. But like, I'm but what I'm trying to make a point of is just like, don't let outside circumstances fucking dictate where you're headed to in life. You should have so much conviction, dude, that you see it. You see it. You get fucking goosebumps talking about it, right? Like we're talking about it now, dude. Yeah. We're talking about it, guys. And if you guys, right now we're in Miami, right? We went to a restaurant called Komodo. Great Wagyu steaks that we had last night. But like, I asked them guys, and they came. I thought they were gonna come for 3 days. They literally came for a 24-hour trip, dude. Just imagine that, guys. Imagine you're at the point of your life where you're able to be like, hey guys, we gotta go see our business partner. He's in Florida, we're in California. Let's take this trip, right? You guys took a red eye, got here. Hey guys, we'll see you for dinner. We're chit-chatting, we go to the cigar, we talk business, we talk about the vision of building a $100 million business. And I feel like that's what life is about, man. Energy. you know, connecting with like the right people, the right partners. And dude, if you get a team of people that are like have the vision aligned, you're unstoppable, right? So let's transition now from John to Rob. And if you guys are just tuning in right now, guys, so John and Rob, they're my business partners. We all co-founded Merchant Automation. Essentially, I do the front end, which is like more of the marketing side. You know, I was the guinea pig on the pilot program. I got great success with all the resources that they were able to provide. But these guys have been in the game in total like 20 years, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Basically, like 20 years, and you guys had thousands of accounts. Basically, you guys know all of LA, dude. And this wasn't your first venture. Yep. So let's get to that part of the story, Rob. So what were you doing before you discovered credit card processing, merchant services, dude?
Yeah, so, you know, going back 17 years ago, it's a crazy story, you know. I was working at a restaurant, you know, a multi-chain restaurant, serving tables, you know, grinding it, you know, clock in, clock out, you know, the typical 9-to-5 job. Basically serving tables, you know, until, you know, one day, you know, John, he kind of hit me up and he was like, hey, we need to change like what you do, how you make money. You know, there's something like I discovered and it's passive income.
Yeah.
So yeah, I, you know, before, you know, serving tables, worked at my parents', you know, small, you know, business, since I was like 14 years old, grinding, you know, day to day, paycheck to paycheck. And, you know, once I discovered merchant services and John, you know, showed me the ropes and we kind of figured out like, hey, this, we can scale this, we can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it just starts, you know, with one account. You know, you sign and then you get to the next and then you just got to get creative and, you know, how do we grab more of the market share in merchant services?
So Rob, let me ask you, what type of business did your parents have at the time?
Man, at the time they had a donut shop.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, you know, built a bunch of donut shops, you know, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
That was in back then. That was how you made money, you know, for our family. And yeah, just, you know, dude, I was making croissants.
Yeah.
From scratch, you know?
Yeah.
And just, you know, backbreaking work, and, you know, I learned how to grind, and I learned a lot from my parents and just applied it to, you know, merchant services. You know, just got to work hard.
And are you the only sibling in your family?
No, I have an older brother and sister.
Cool. And
Yep.
are they also in the business, or like are they entrepreneurs as well?
My sister's an entrepreneur. My brother took over my parents' business. So they're you know, they're doing the 9 to 5, and, you know, they're business owners, and unfortunately I didn't want to go down that path.
No, that's cool, man. I mean, you got to find what fulfills you and what you're passionate about. So let's go into it a little bit about like basically the conversation between what you and John had. How did your guys' relationship start before John came up and was like, hey, bro, I found the gold rush. Like, I found the opportunity of a lifetime. Like, how did you guys actually meet and all that?
Yeah, so we met through a mutual friend, and, you know, we started hanging out, grabbing drinks. And, you know, John, you know, he's a super cool guy to hang out with.
Yeah.
So, you know,
John's
grabbing
wild.
drinks, and is like, hey, what are you doing nowadays? And, you know, what are you doing? And, you know, just catching up. And, you know, I remember when he first told me about merchant services, like, dude, these credit card machines, like, this is what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it, you know, at the time. I didn't know what passive income was. And then, you know, we would meet, and he's like, yeah, now I'm the manager. You know, we're signing up a lot of accounts, and he was like, you should try this. And so at you know, after a few drinks at one time, I'm like, dude, I'm really gonna try it. He's like, he was super excited. He's like, wow, you're gonna finally try it? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, show me the ropes. He was like, dude, you just gotta get a credit card statement. I'm like, that's it? He's like, yep, once you get the monthly statement, then we can break it down and see how much we can save the client. So like a week goes by, you know, I'm like, okay, when can I attack?
Yeah.
And it just came out of the blue. I'm at my dentist, the chair is reclining.
Yeah.
Right, and the doctor was like, hey, so what are you doing nowadays? And in my mind, I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity. I told him, I was like, oh, I'm into the credit card, you know, processing business. He's like, what does that mean? I can save you money with the machine you have at your front desk.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, okay, that's great. So, you know, he does his thing, you know, I get my cleaning, and as my chair's reclining up, he was like, go talk to Laura about, saving us some money. I'm like, okay, that's great. I got the statement right away. I didn't even get to my car yet. I call up John and I'm like, dude, I got my first statement. He's like, great. He's like, take a picture of it, send it over. We'll meet. Long story short, save them $400 a month.
Wow.
And we ended up making like $300 to $400 a month. And after my first check, I was like, John, like, we get this every month?
Yeah.
He's like, yep, until they cancel.
Wow.
And we had, the account until the doctor sold his place for over 10 plus years.
Dude, that's badass.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that's badass, as you're like explaining how John's helping you on the phone, he's walking you through the process. He's like, dude, let's keep it simple, right? It's like, get the statement. You get the statement. We'll analyze the statement, and then we'll figure out the solution. Dude, that's what business is about. I feel like humans, we overthink. Whenever I talk to like a newbie trying to get into entrepreneurship, they're like, but what about this? What about that? What about if this happens? What if like the world ends? Like, how can I control that? I don't know if I could take that risk, man. And I'm like, dude, I feel you. I've been there multiple times. But it's great that you can have like a friend that is already successful in a niche or an industry. And then he's like, hey, dude, he's just talking from experience, man. And I think that comes directly into like mentorship, right? Mentorship to me is like everything, dude. Because the past 5 years, I've invested a little bit over $1 billion in just self-education, books, mentors, dude. And people like, even my mom, she's like, you paid how much to like be mentored by this person? $150,000 with one mentor, $100,000 with another mentor. But then what my mom doesn't see and what my wife doesn't see and then what my family doesn't see, everybody around me doesn't see is that like literally that one investment, I've been able to 10 or 20x, right? And that's why people are like, dude, how is it that like you were able to like scale these companies so fast? And it's just like, it's like the movies. I get lucky. No, I wish, right? I wish life was that easy. No, life is hard. Life
Absolutely.
is hard. And I always say you got to choose your hard, man. You could go ahead and be like broke, homeless, and that's a hard life. Or you could be a highly successful, driven entrepreneur that's just solution driven every single day and actually solve problems and make a ton of money. But guess what? Here's the caveat. You have the world on your shoulders. And that's what we were talking about last night, right? It's just like how busy we are, but we make it happen. And I feel like the only way you're able to have that type of mindset, guys, if you're watching this right now and you're like, dude, I don't believe in myself. I'm never going to be successful. I don't come from rich parents. I don't come from the right environment. Bullshit. Do not be a fucking sheep. You got this. We believe in you guys. Okay. So, Rob, let's transition now to how you guys were able to now, we're talking about you guys being in the humble beginnings of your merchant services career, but how did PaybotX, which is, if you guys don't know, if you're just tuning in right now, PaybotX is an ISO, independent sales organization. Independent sales organizations provide the network. They have the connections. They're essentially like a middleman between the banking system, all the credit card terminal manufacturers like Clover, like Square, like all those big companies that you guys see that are very similar to Apple, but in credit card processing. And they get the deals, okay? They get the deals, and then they're able to provide you the resources. They're able to help you with like logistics, sales development, all that jazz. That's what they're supposed to do, right? And I think when we all met, we went ahead and like we put our heads together. We're like, dude, let's create this badass program that's gonna change the world, right? And in a little bit over a year, dude, where are we at with clients? Like over 700 clients?
Absolutely,
dude.
yep.
And we're gonna get into it. You guys are gonna get excited because I'm getting excited. But like we have some phenomenal stories, dude. And every time that we connect, like yesterday, we were talking about our clients, our mentees, and we're talking about like the great success that they're able to get because they unfuck their mind. And that's what it comes down to, right? It's just like they have all the resources, they have the backing. You could lead a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink it, right?
Yeah.
So how did PaybotX start? Let's get to that point.
Yeah, so, after 3 months, into the business, I was like, John, we need to start a company that doesn't, that treats, the sales agents correctly. Because in the industry, a lot of these new reps, They don't know what's going on. So let's partner up with the banks, the processors, and pass the cost to the agent to where they're not overpaying at these other ISOs. And that was like the business model at the time 17 years ago. It's kind of like, why don't we put agents in the position that we're in?
Yeah.
Which is basically getting the true costs from the processors.
Yeah.
And that was like the game changer, right? So, just tweaking that little, thought in the processing game changed the whole landscape of it.
Right.
Because agents were flocking over. They're like, no way, like I'm gonna make more money, working with you guys.
Yeah.
And that definitely, was the needle mover.
I love that. I
Yep.
love that. So, okay, break it down to like a complete newbie right now that's watching, because a lot of the people that watch my podcast right now, we're at 2 million downloads a month, which is amazing, right? Because you guys saw it from the beginning when I launched this shit, the level of podcast. You guys are like, launch what, bro? But
I'm one of the original listeners.
guys, you guys can make it happen. Don't just sit there and feel bad for yourself. Make it happen. Come up with a plan and just execute, guys. Like Emilio, one of my guys that helps us out right now, he's behind the scenes. He's managing like all the video. He's doing these badass edits and reels and all this shit, and he's directing our team. Dude, like it's just me and him, and we make it happen. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing. Sometimes we bump heads, but guess what? It gets done, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, what is it specifically that you do at your guys' company? Like, Rob, like, what do you focus on primarily? And then what does John focus on primarily to make it work?
Yeah, so right now, I'm making sure that, all of our relationships with the processor banks, making sure we have like the best products, and software. We own our own delivery platform that, competes with Uber Eats, DoorDash.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah. So for those, who are new listening today, it's called Delish. So it's basically, a cookie cutter app for restaurants, so like, Starbucks app.
Yeah.
You go on there, you order your drinks, and, you get it delivered or you can pick it up. Right. So that's what we're doing for small businesses, restaurants primarily, so that they don't pay the crazy fees with like DoorDash and Uber Eats. And then, we are also developing and probably launching very soon our restaurant POS called PaybotX. So that's going to be the game changer too, cutting the cost for the merchants, cutting the cost for the agents. Currently if we're using one of the bigger POS systems, the merchant might be paying $80 per station.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to chop it down probably to like $20.
Wow.
So yeah, just make sure, those things that agents can benefit from and we grow as a company, and, compete, because the merchant services landscape is very competitive out there.
Yeah.
And if you don't have like proprietary software, you're kind of like left in the dirt, and we want to make sure like we're, continue to fly high in the industry.
No, that's smart, man. That's smart. So let me ask you guys, like, essentially, like, we created this program, and I get asked this all the time. Now, I'll give you my answer after you guys answer.
All right.
So people could get different perspectives. But when you get somebody that is not in the industry and they know that there's like literally thousands of ISOs and thousands of other credit card processing companies, one of the bigger ones like Clover, right? Why do people decide to do business with you guys? Let's get your opinion, Rob, and then your opinion, John, because I want to hear like basically what's your thought process behind this. I think a lot of people watching this right now and listening to this, they're really going to be like, dude, that's like my number one fear. Like, why would they go with me over like Clover, which is essentially like the Apple of credit card processing, right?
Right.
So what would be your answer to that, man?
I think the main thing is that, they get a real person, right? They call in, somebody's picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Somebody's answering their questions.
Yeah.
Some of these companies, you might try to partner up with them and, you don't get your, it goes to like an answering machine or answering service and we'll call you back.
Right.
And, I spoke to an agent, recently, And I said, why did you choose to work with us, right? You've been in this space for a really long time, and why'd you pick us?
Yeah.
You know, why'd you land at our company? He's like, you know, you guys, the culture there is just different. Like, people I talk to at your company, they're educated, they answer my questions.
Wow.
You know, these other companies, like, you know, you might send an email, you don't hear anything back.
Right.
So yeah, we get to the point. We make sure their questions are answered. We make sure they close their deals, and you know, we just make sure we take everything to the finish line.
So basically, from your perspective, Rob, it's more of the value, the face value that the actual merchant's getting, and why people decide to do business with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. How about you, John?
Yes. So, very good question. There's a lot of options out there, and we're always competing. But where we can win is one of the things I discovered many, many years ago when I was out there fresh in this business. And I was thinking to myself, how am I going to compete with Wells Fargo? You see their commercials. They say they've been around since 1800s.
Yeah.
Everybody knows them. They're on every corner. Here, you know, how I have zero marketing dollars.
Yeah.
They have billions of dollars in marketing.
Facts.
How am I going to beat these guys? How am I even going to compete with them?
Yeah.
But one thing I realized, I went to a merchant, and she didn't speak a lot of English, so I spoke Spanish. I was able to talk to her. She said, yeah, the bank, you know, I go there and they really can't help me. They say I got to call this 800 number, merchant services number. I go to the bank with her. They're like, yeah, sir, just go use that phone over there. We don't have anybody here that can help you. I'm like, you know what? Let's not do this. I'm going to get you a machine. I'm going to be your personal representative. Here's my cell phone number with my business card with my cell phone number. Any questions you have, you can call me directly.
Wow.
And then I was like, the light bulb came on. I'm like, man, that is so powerful. These banks they can't compete with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That personal touch that each one of you guys out there in your communities, you can add that personal touch to your local community, and you'll be appreciated for it. And just as simple as, you know, yesterday as we were riding from the airport on the Uber, I just introduced myself to the guy. I noticed he had some Spanish wording on his phone. I said, "Do you speak Spanish?" He says, "Yes." We start speaking Spanish. I'm like, "Where are you from?" "Oh, Colombia." He starts telling me, boom. He's like, I said, "Yeah, I'm here on business, you know." He's like, "What type of business?" I said, "Oh, we do merchant services. I put in the credit card terminals, POS systems for restaurants." He's like, "My friend needs your service. He has a valet service. He always has problems with the Zelle and the apps."
Facts.
And I'm like, he's like, literally says, "Here's his number."
Yeah.
And calls the guy, says, "Hey, I'm here. I'm riding with the guy with the merchant services. He's going to be calling you later this afternoon. He's got what you need." Boom. Just like that. In a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah.
You know, there's an abundance of merchants out there that are getting taken advantage of by other companies because there's nobody there to take care of them.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's super important. I mean, I sort of have the same, you could say, answer to piggyback on what you guys said is like value driven, keeping it personal. A lot of people, they're highly successful in sales because it all comes down to sales, right? And in sales, in order to get somebody to buy from you, they have to trust you. You have to build foundation. You have to have value, and you have to educate them, right? Because confused buyers don't buy, right? So they don't understand, then they're not going to buy. So let me ask you this. When you get somebody that says, well, isn't the merchant services industry saturated? Because there's credit card terminals everywhere. Then what is the chance of a new person that has no skill, that still has to learn this, and they just want to make like a couple $1,000s in residual income, right? Like, what's your guys' answer to that? Like, what's your opinion on that? Like, what do you have to tell to the viewer right now that's watching that's saying like, hey, dude, like, isn't this saturated? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a very good question. And, you know, what I always picture is this. If I said, Paul, here's a fishing pole. Let's go out to the ocean. Let's go do some fishing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I didn't catch a fish. There's no fish. There's no fish. Paul, there's millions of fish There's millions of fish in the ocean.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going back. You got to keep trying different bait. You have to keep trying, learn from the other fishermen, learn their techniques, look what they're doing, okay? The problem is that most people, they do think it's saturated, but it's not. The ocean is full. You can be a billion-dollar company out there and you're just scooping up thousands of fish, okay? But there's a fisherman that's out there by himself and he's fishing enough to feed his family. He's fishing enough to feed his village, okay? So there's plenty. And the beauty of it is that a lot of these merchants are being taken advantage of by these big corporate companies. And that's why it's a perfect opportunity for us to come in and you and your community to be like, hey, I can save you money. You don't have to call an 800 number.
Yeah.
Call me directly.
Right.
And that... this market will never be saturated, and we continue to improve on our products, our equipment. Whatever happens, like you said, politics, there's an earthquake, whatever, we shift.
Right.
We're ready to shift.
Yeah.
We're always going to ride the wave, and every time people says the world's going to end, we find opportunity.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, okay, so now we're doing this. Okay, great, let's roll with it.
Yeah. And I feel when there's like fear in the world and everybody's just like, oh dude, like I can't go ahead and start a business, or I can't go and save right now, or I can't go ahead and start on the opportunity. I'm just gonna wait until, like I said earlier, like the politics is over. I'm gonna see who's the president and then I'll make a decision, right? But I always say there's never a perfect time. And if you're a perfectionist, guess what? It's just gonna delay your gratification, right? So Rob, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, going back 17 years ago when, I told my dad,
Yeah.
hey, Dad, I discovered a new business. He's like, what is it, son? I was like super excited, and I told him about it. And he told me, why did you pick a business when everybody already has those machines?
Dude, that's literally what we get every single time when people are like, hey, Paul, what's your latest venture? And I'm like, credit card terminals. And they're like, but that's saturated. Why are you getting into that?
Yeah, so my dad told me that, and I kind of scratched my head. But fast forward to today, it doesn't matter if somebody already has, a credit card terminal or services, right?
Yeah.
One of a perfect example the other day, got my car tinted, hand my credit card to the lady behind the counter to pay, and she's like keying in the transaction into her computer. And first thing I said to her, I'm like, you don't have a credit card machine? She's like, no, I'm with Chase and they never gave me one.
Wow.
She's like, she was like, this is like their newest technology, so I have to key it in. I'm like, first of all, you're paying more because you're keying in the transaction.
No way.
Yeah.
She's getting charged
more because she keys in the transaction. Is card not present?
Dude, that makes sense. Manually.
Exactly.
Yes.
She's like, I don't understand any of that, blah, blah, blah. And she started keying in my transaction. She's like, I hate this thing. I'm like, what's wrong? She says, it's not taking the card.
Wow.
And then I was like, I wasn't even trying to sell at the moment.
Yeah.
First thing I said was, you know what? I'm in the business. I've been in the business a long time. I normally don't go door to door, but I think I can, make this transaction easier for you. And she's like, how can you do that? I'm like, well, I'll just give you, a credit card terminal that you can just chip Apple Pay, the new technology where you don't even have to key it into the computer.
Right.
And then she was like scratching her head, like, okay, I run the shop. I run, the accounting. My son is the decision maker, but he's not here right now, so I'm going to make the decision. I had the office email her an application. She like filled it out, signed it and handed it to me, and I got in a terminal the next day. Somebody from the office went and installed it. Just like that. You can sign up, a deal at any time, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be where like, okay, I'm going to go door to door. Most of the accounts I get, I just, at the pho restaurant I'm eating at, or where I change my tires. Going back to 14 years ago, I landed 3 accounts from a car accident.
No way.
Yeah.
How's that? Break it down, dude.
So when you get in an accident, most of the time you get an attorney. The attorney was like, okay, call this chiropractor, right? And after a few sessions, I'm like, hey, I noticed you have a credit card machine. Like, what are your fees? What are you paying? So he was like, he didn't want to bother with it in the beginning, but after a few more sessions, he was like, okay, talk to my assistant. I got the statement, saved him money, signed him up. In the building, there's like a cafe, right? Nuts and berries. I would go get, a smoothie there every time I went to get, my session done at the chiropractor. Ended up signing him up. My car that was getting, that got rear-ended at the body shop, signed them up. So from a car accident, I landed 3 accounts. Guys, you can sign up an account out there. It's not saturated. There's millions of accounts out there. If you're driving down like the street, at a busy intersection, those businesses in those corners, somebody's making that money, and it can be you. It could be you.
Wow, I love that, man.
Yeah.
And thanks for that, bro. That gives, if I was a newbie and I didn't know nothing about this, that right there just gave me ultra confidence that this is possible for anybody. So let's get down to the bread and butter, man. So this industry, the way that the actual ISOs and the credit card processing companies out there like Clover, Chase, Wells Fargo, and whoever else, they provide the network for the credit card terminal. They get a percentage of that every time that somebody uses a credit card. And that's the standard merchant services, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So now that we know the regular standard merchant services guys, this is exactly the pivotal moment where they went ahead and they hyper-focused on one exact strategy. And what is that strategy?
Yeah, so the new strategy now is, when you go to a restaurant, you see the fee on your receipt.
Yeah.
It could be 3%, 4%, depending on where you're at. In some restaurants in LA, it could be like 8%. Like they're doing crazy numbers out there.
Facts.
So going back to the car tinting place, the lady, I did end up asking her, how much do you guys pay, a month in fees? And she was like, last month we paid about $7,000. Then the month before was like $8,500. They're a very busy location. They also do like car wraps and stuff like that.
So let me stop you right there, man. $7,000, $8,500 in just fees?
A month, yeah.
That's crazy,
Crazy.
bro. That's
Crazy.
almost, no, that is like over $100,000 in just fees.
Exactly.
A year.
A year. And that's what I told her. I said, I'm going to save you about $90,000 to $100,000 a year. And basically that's like your money you can go on vacation with, remodel your store. And, you can do whatever you want with the money. And she was like, I can't wrap my head around that. I'm like, what we do is basically you're paying about 3% of, your processing volume. What we're going to do is each transaction, we're going to pass that to the customer.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to pass it to the customer. And she's like, oh no, I'm going to lose my customer base. I'm like, don't worry. Have you ordered Uber Eats before?
Right.
And she's like, yeah, all the time for my crew. I'm saying to get that food to your door, it's going to cost you about 15 to 17% that you're paying, but you still did it, right? She's like, yeah, we do it, every other day.
Right.
I said, customers are accustomed to paying a percentage to use their card these days.
Yeah.
She was like, you know what? I'm sold. She's like, I would love to save the $80,000 to $90,000 a year. Like, I'm making a decision. I'll tell my son later, but I'm making a decision. I'm going to switch over. And that's kind of like how I wrapped it up. And I did all that within like, I don't know, a 10-minute conversation.
So you saved them about $100,000. Now, you being the person that provides the terminal and obviously have the network, and we can estimate this, on that account alone, how much could someone who is providing the terminal, saving somebody about $100,000 in credit card fees, how much can they make just for providing the terminal and providing the network and the face-to-face value, dude?
Yeah. So using that account as an example, it's going to be about $1,000 to $1,500
That's amazing.
in residuals, monthly residuals.
So that's after you install the terminal, after you get the contract signed, and then what do they do after the fact? Like, do they have to do any type of maintenance? Do they have to go ahead and do anything monthly? Like, what's your take on that?
You're talking about the agents?
The agents, correct. So,
Yeah,
so to paint the picture, just for clarity, guys, if you guys are watching this or listening to this, the scenario right now is we're using a real life situation that Rob was able to do with a tinting shop that was paying over $100,000, which I can't wrap my mind, dude. Because if they just save 2 to 3 years of that, they could buy a house. They could go ahead and dude, I would ask them, I was like, what's your favorite car, Ferrari or Lamborghini? Like, you could legit pay in cash a freaking sports car if you like just saving the amount of money you're saving in fees, which blows my mind. And a lot of people, they're probably thinking like, there's no way. There's no way. But what's your take on that, dude? Like the mindset of the customer saying like, is this a scam? Or like, how is this possible? Why haven't like my bank or my current company told me about this? What's your take on that? Why aren't the banks or other credit card companies telling business owners about this, man?
So the big banks don't offer this program because they just don't, they don't know about it, right? So it's not the processor, it's what we do within the terminal. It's how we program the software.
Got it. For
it to tack on the 3% on top of the sale amount.
Got it.
Yeah. And then going back to your original question with the agents, so how much are they involved and what they do after?
Yeah.
So we ship the terminal to the location or to the agent's shipping address. The agent then shows up at the business. They unplug the old terminal, plug in the new one, train the merchant on how to use it. Do we have any like follow-up calls? The only time would be, the merchant might call and say, hey, I'm out of paper.
Right.
Then we would ship them paper. Or, they're changing like their checking account or something like that for the amounts to settle into a new checking account. But the maintenance is really low on a merchant account.
Wow.
I have like a chain of restaurants that I've had for 15 years. She always tells me like, hey, Bank of America always wants our merchant services. But I tell them, I have a guy who gives me amazing customer service, always picks up my phone call.
Yeah.
I'm happy. You might be able to save me a few $100s, but I'm happy.
Right.
And then now they really can't take her because we've switched them to the cash discount program and dual pricing because Bank of America doesn't even offer it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like because of technology and how we program the software, we lock in the merchant for even.
So Rob, to go back to why the banks can't do this, because a lot of people are going to ask, like, why isn't that the banks can't do this? And then is it just like independent ISOs that can do this, like other companies that could do this? Like, I feel like the hiccup here with a lot of people that are probably watching this right now or listening right now is they're like, well, if you guys can do it, then what's stopping a major corporation like Bank of America or Wells Fargo to do it? Like, what is stopping them to do this?
I would say their primary focus is staying traditional processing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think that's what it is.
So they're sticking to just traditional, old school business methods.
Yes.
And they're not looking to mess it up because it works. It works for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
Because also they're one of the first to be able to pitch the merchant on a merchant services account. So to them, they're keeping it traditional. Like you're opening up a checking account with me right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, would you like merchant services?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense, man, because when, I started building all these businesses, my bank teller would be like, hey, by the way, do you need like merchant processing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it's just easy. It's just a convenience because, everybody has to open a bank account after they get their LLC when they start a business. So it's just a given that they're going to offer that, right?
Yeah.
And if it works, why change it? And that's true. Guys, here's one thing I would tell you from all the experience I have as an entrepreneur, okay, is that when something works, please do not mess with it, okay? Do not mess with that. You're gonna mess with your cash flow. You're gonna mess with your strategy. And then when business starts going down or cash flow starts going down, you're gonna think back, what did I change? Oh yeah, I started dividing my attention and focus on multiple things instead of the primary source that was making me money. And that's just business 101. A lot of people won't tell you that. A lot of millionaires, okay, will tell you, hey, you need 6, 7 sources of income. But here's the thing, what they don't tell you. When you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you want to focus on one primary source that can feed your other investments. And that's exactly what I did, guys. I focused on being a police officer. I focused on working that 9 to 5, 80 to 100-hour work weeks, which I was able to save thousands of dollars every single month, which then I was able to invest into my first side hustle, which then made me financially free. Did it make me a multimillionaire? No, it didn't. But it made me financially free. And that's the first level up that I always tell people to do. Make sure you guys get financially free first before you focus on trying to become a millionaire or a multimillionaire. Once you're financially free, you're able to take care of your bills. Now you have time freedom. And if you have time freedom, you're able to hyper focus on something like this, right? You're able to focus and now grow massive companies, do multiple startups, and then live the life of your dreams, guys. Okay? Is it going to be easy? No.
Nope.
No, not at all. It's not going to be easy. But if everything was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? So to get to that, cool. Let's switch over to John. So John, all right, let's get deep, man. Let's get deep. So John, the cash discount program is the subject. This is what we're focusing on now. You deal with a lot of our clientele. If you guys didn't know, John, he's one of the primary sales development. He is one of the leaders for our sales development team. You do the weekly clinics for our clients, dude. Some of the best success stories that we have is because you're the driving force behind it, you and Rob. But ultimately, dude, like, now that you've seen and you dealt with like newbies that have no experience on this, what would you tell the average person like myself that, okay, when you're focusing on merchant services, here are the 3 needle movers you need to harp on. Here are the 3 needle movers that will make you a success. What would you tell the viewer right now?
Yes, that's a great question, and I cover this in all my weekly trainings. And the main thing is get out there and just start moving. Just start talking to business owners, and you don't have to know everything. Right. You learn it as you go. You learn it as you go, and if everybody just said, "I am going to go out," and so the most sales reps, they want to go out and I want to go out and talk to this business owner, and I want to close the sale right there. And it's like, okay, if I don't want them to say no to me, right. They're scared of rejection. Yeah. So if you just realize that they're not rejecting you, just at the time, they're not ready. They don't have the information they need to make the decision. Right. Or you didn't build enough rapport yet. That makes sense. So I always say, talk to that person. Like, we can talk to somebody because we've been doing it for so long. We can build rapport like in 5 seconds. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I could say, "Wow, I love your hat, Melon. Where did you get that?" Yeah. And we have a whole conversation going now. Okay. So if people learn to build rapport with the client, but you have to practice it first. You can build yourself up to where you've learned how to build rapport. That makes sense. But let's just say you go in and you're beginning, okay, and you go in and talk to, I come in and talk to you. I may not build rapport on that first visit. So if I just keep coming back enough times, eventually we're gonna build rapport. And the next thing you know, you're like, "Hey, John, how you doing, man? How's everything going?" Yeah. That's when the deal's ready to be closed. Okay, so on the follow-up. So the follow-up is key. The follow-up is key. And then the most important thing is determination, not giving up. Okay, I've talked to some sales agents, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, whoa, they're gonna have a rough go at this. They got a lot to learn. But the people that are successful, and I'm like, it still surprise me to this day. Yeah. And I'm like, that person has tenacity. That person, they get rejected and they just keep going back. They just keep going back. They figure it out. They have the ability to ignore the rejection. I love that. Mindset, dude. Mindset. You got to make it work no matter what. Absolutely. All right, guys. And as we wrap this podcast, guys, let's finish this off with a story, okay? So out of all the clients you've helped, you don't have to name drop. You can use first name. And just tell us about the story with one of your mentees
in the merchant automation program, and where they were at, and the transition that you saw, and the obstacles that we were able to help them out with, man.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a few that stand out.
Yeah.
One, she is a stay-at-home mom, but she was a nurse. Okay, and her husband works, and I believe she has 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they first joined, they're like, we got to make this work because, she wants her husband to not be working as much, not having to work overtime, spend more time with the kids.
Yeah.
And this is a lady that spent her whole life working as a nurse. So like, okay, we have to train her.
Yeah.
We have to train her to get out there. She has to go through the program.
Right.
But she, in probably less than a year, she signed over 25 accounts.
Amazing.
And is making over $3,000 a month in residuals.
I love that,
and
dude.
she has replaced her income.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to clock in. She doesn't have to go and deal with the clients or rush home because her child is sick, or pick up the kids at school, things like that. She has the ability to do that. I mean, she's gone to some appointments and she's taken pictures with the merchant there when she installed the machine, and her little girl is there. So it's a whole family thing. And I'm like, and some people are like, I don't have time. I have my kids. I can't do it. And here she is taking her kids with her, closing deals with her kids.
That's amazing, dude. That's life-changing to become a registered nurse, go into entrepreneurship as a side hustle, and then it replaces your income. That's the American dream, dude. When
Absolutely.
you really think about it, that's the new American dream, right? Because for a lot of people, they're like, they go the traditional route. I went the traditional route with being a police officer. I was in corporate America. I was trying to figure it out, right? But what I saw was I was capped. I was capped, man. Just like you said, we're talking about energy. We're talking about everybody's getting older, dude. And you can only go ahead and work so much, man. So I was killing myself, right? Working as a police officer, just grinding every single week, man. So for that client in particular to be a nurse, transition to entrepreneurship, and then ultimately, dude, become financially free is amazing. I know we have quite a few clients that have, dude, they're killing the game right now. Right, Bryce. We will have one client, Bryce.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Bryce. Real quick.
So Bryce is a beast, and he, I remember when he first called me, just fresh. The ink didn't even dry in his paperwork. He's like, John, I'm over here at this family restaurant. My parents have been coming here for a lot of time. Boom, boom. I haven't finished the program yet. I'm still in training, but boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, okay, slow down, because I always tell people like, yeah, we're in a rush. You want to get your first deal. Everybody's in a rush to get their first deal.
Right.
But also we want you to go through the program. Give yourself give yourself a little time to go through the program. I say people go to 4-year colleges to just go and get a job and then be retrained again.
True.
Here you come in and you can learn this in 2 weeks up to 90 days, and you're going to be pretty solid. So Bryce came in and he was on fire, and then next thing you know, he's like, "Hey, John, sorry I couldn't answer. My wife's having a kid. I'm like, but I'm gonna go out and see the client tomorrow." Like, okay, you keep going, and he's just been on fire the whole time, and he's signed over 40 accounts.
Amazing.
Since November when he joined of last year.
Wow.
And he's close to making over $10,000 a month in residuals.
That's amazing, man. And I know he's growing. He's closing deals left to right every single day. I mean, I see the client success posts. I see the numbers coming in, man. Changing lives, dude. So to wrap this up, guys, what is one motivational saying from each one of you guys that you guys want to tell to the audience that's listening to this? They're on the fence about possibly investing into merchant services, investing with our program, our company, working with us. And what would you tell them? What would you tell them? What do they have looking forward to, man? What do they need to change on their mind to make it happen for themselves and for their family, right? Because that's what it comes down to is fulfillment and their why. So what do you have to say to them?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I constantly I've used this in my life several times. You can make massive changes in a very short period of time. Okay, I was listening. This is probably 10 years ago. I was listening to the UFC and Conor McGregor, and they're like, and he's like, I'm unstoppable. I am, I got to lose 45 pounds in the next, 60 days, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to fight. I'm going to win millions of dollars. Okay, so we all have that potential. If you said, John, I want to lose 45 pounds in the next 45 days, you could do it. You just have to take action.
Facts.
And you got to put it in your mind. That prize at the end is yours once you do this. Okay? So when you say, look, I want to I want to make $10,000 in the next 6 months with this merchant services, $10,000 a month in the next 6 months in the merchant services industry program, say you can do it. We have reps that are doing it.
Facts.
You just have to we have accounts where you can make $3,000 a month on one account. You sign 3 or 4 of those, you hit your goal.
Yeah.
Or you can sign a lot of little ones and get there as well. So take that leap and take massive action.
Right.
Okay? Because yes, you can take your time. If some people don't have a lot of time, but we can still coach you through and figure out what type of action you need to be taking to get you to your goals.
Man, I love that, man. I love that. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, for those who are listening, who are on the fence about merchant services, should I do this? Should I take this leap? Take it. The reason why is it changed my life, and for the past 17 years, you're getting the experience. We're going to pass it on to you, and just take the chance. It's definitely a game changer. Passive income is the way to go.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be, working at, a 9 to 5 when you're 65 years old,
Yeah.
we can help, change your life. And if you're on the fence, just hop on over and we'll help you out.
Absolutely. And guys, there you have it. I brought the co-founders of the program, merchantautomation.com. Guys, we are killing the game right now. We started this over a year and a half ago. Guys, this is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Paul Alex. I want to thank you for tuning in, guys. Make sure to check us up on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, like, share. Same thing with the actual Level Up Podcast, guys, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, absolutely everywhere. This podcast is going to change the world, and we hope we were able to serve you and everybody listening to this pod. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.